You did it again. You did the same joke.
It wasn't a joke. I was just letting you know. I wasn't trying to be funny.
You don't like being trapped down here in the secret laboratory with a raging gorilla?
Which one of you is the raging gorilla?
Well, take a look. You got 2 guesses.
Yeah. And either one of them is going to be right.
Right. Just depending who you ask.
Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You are listening to The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute. Here are your hosts, Alan Sanders and Walt Murray.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute, a podcast where we break down and celebrate the films of Gene Wilder 1 minute at a time. And we're in the midst of Season 1, where we are looking at the film Young Frankenstein. I'm your host. I'm Alan Sanders.
And I'm your co-host, Walt Murray.
And joining us once again on the podcast, Susan Delmonico. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
When we last left, last minute, yesterday, we had just gotten done playing the game of charades, and we just realized that what the good doctor was asking his 2 hapless assistants to find would be the sedative to help give the creature a reason to let go of his neck.
And not a sedative. I was so confused. I'm like, they said sedative. Give him the sedative.
Well, Igor really was definitely thinking he had figured that one out. I feel like that Geico commercial where they're all trying to guess and the sloth is drawing the line. Oh. Like, yeah. It's a slot. It's a slow-moving stick bug. Igor's so into it. Sedative! I figured it out. Well, it's not a sedative. We know that it's a sedative. So we start this minute with Igor acknowledging, on the noses, like congratulating, I guess, Inga for having figured it out, or maybe he's congratulating himself for having helped her figure it out. But it will end with Dr. Frankenstein inviting Igor to, why don't you come on and sit down and let's chat a bit. Let's just 2 buds, just you and me, because we've gotten along so well throughout the entire course of our history since meeting on the platform. I just want to chat. That's okay, right? Just 2 friends. And that's where we will end this minute. So let's go ahead and start at the very beginning here, on the noses. And this is where we will go to the script and realize we've got a couple of things in the script that are a little bit different than what they chose to shoot on the scene. Because what we were left with on the scene was, as soon as the monster collapses, and of course the very exasperated and frustrated Gene Wilder, Dr. Frankenstein, yells, "Sedative!" Not in the script. Not at all. I think it's a great addition, though, because it almost kind of points back to the joke that how could you have possibly thought that was what I was trying to get you to say?
Well, and it helps us moving minute to minute through the scene to tie yesterday and today together. But it is a great throw-in line. It fits perfectly. It kind of shows his exasperation with the whole situation, and you see that he started to figure out that something is amiss.
Right. Susan. When...
Al, yeah.
I don't go by Al. Susan, when we see the monster collapse and the exasperated doctor, yelling out the sedative, when you remember seeing this, you said this is one of your favorite Gene Wilder comedies. What will you remember thinking, or what do you remember even just watching it now about this moment?
Well, the fact that he's restrained himself, got the monster down, and the whole time he's fuming, as if to say, what the sedative? I mean, what is wrong with you people?
What in the world would make you think that that's the word I was trying to get you to say? Well, he's definitely been in kind of he looks worse for wear right now. He is.
Oh, he's a mess.
Trying to catch his breath. His eyes are bulging. He's like sort of still almost in shock to an extent. Now, I don't know if you noticed this. Inga actually predicts that he's going to need the chair.
I saw that.
Yes, I saw that too, where she's slowly bringing the chair up.
Right, at the very beginning, after she gives the shot and puts it right in the posterior, which is not in the vein, so unless she got really lucky, I'm not sure what vein she hit back there.
Well, was she trying to bring it for the monster? Or what? I mean, it was obvious that she was bringing that chair forward for a reason.
Well, what I liked about it is it works, because even if it's a placement for where he's going to go sit eventually, It also could work if she thought they were going to stumble backwards, and that would help catch the doctor. I'm not sure what would have happened if the monster had come crashing on top of him at that point, because I probably would have collapsed the chair.
Well, and honestly, as many times as I've seen this movie, which I'm guessing 20, 25 times, I've never noticed the choreography of this scene where she gets that chair and puts it in place. I didn't notice it until I was preparing for this minute. So it works. I guess my focus has always been on the monster and Freddy collapsing on the table. But it's good choreography, and it really helps with the flow of this whole scene just to keep things moving.
It does. Until you watch it so slow like that, you wouldn't notice it. Or maybe she's just a really darn good assistant.
Maybe. Yeah. She knows what he needs before he does.
That's right.
Well, did you notice that Igor still has a cigarette?
I did.
In the whole game, the whole monster strangling, all this stuff, still got his cigarette in his hand as he's watching the monster slowly fall unconscious and get strewn across a high-top table. There's a couple of things I want to point out, but I just don't know where to go to first. Let's go to just where the camera placement. Gene Wilder looks so small on top of Peter Boyle's chest. When he finally lays him down and pulls back away, you get the sense of just how big the creature is.
Yeah, it's almost like twice the normal human size. He is so gigantic. I almost said monstrous, but that would be...
Well, obviously, I'm sure you guys have talked about this prior to this, but how big is Peter Boyle?
Well, he was 6'2" as an actor, and he had 3-inch lifts in his boots to make him at least on set 6'5" tall. And then he was wearing an extra 125 pounds of gear around his waist and his body and his chest to make him thicker and fatter and look bigger like a lumbering beast.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that put him a little over 300 pounds that he was lumbering around the set with.
Wow.
What's amazing is just between the camera angles and that, extra 7 inches, because Gene Wilder, 5'10", he doesn't look 5'10". He looks smaller than that when it comes to the scope compared to Peter Boyle as the monster.
So is it just the camera angles and things like that, because he looks so much bigger?
Well, if you look at the very even beginning of the minute when we first started, and he's still being strangled as Inga puts the shot into the derriere of the monster and he runs around to grab him. Part of it is, I think, Gene Wilder sort of down to help catch the monster, which puts his head so much lower. It puts his head basically mid-chest to the monster.
Yeah, he's like a foot shorter than him in this scene.
At least it looks that way. And then lays him down on the table where the monster slowly just continues to pass out. His arm goes limp. Susan, I gotta ask you, I don't know what this is in the foreground. Normally you don't put things in shots unless they're needed. Having had kids, I keep thinking that's like a wipe dispenser. Like a wet wipe dispenser.
Yeah, I was thinking like a cotton ball.
What is that?
Like from a doctor's office.
To me, it looks like one of those white, what are they, pipes they have for, what are they called? PVC.
Like PVC pipe?
Yeah, it looks like a...
It's definitely some kind of a container with a top. I'm taking a look at it. It feels weird that it's so prominent in the foreground of the shot.
Yeah, and it didn't get knocked off the table.
Does it get knocked off the table? I'm not sure if it's just a opaque container. Like, is it for cotton balls?
Just kind of a prop.
It just, to me, I just keep thinking like I'm seeing like product placement. They didn't get permission to put it, so they've turned the label the other way around. It looks like you could pull like a little wet one out of there and just kind of wipe a baby's bottom with it. And I didn't know if that was sort of like a joke for being that he's like a toddler, he's like a little kid. Did they put a little, wet ones over on the table? I mean, he's on the changing table.
I don't even know if they had wet ones in the 70s.
Did they? Little wet wipes?
We just used a hose.
I would have been the recipient, not the bearer of that.
Yeah, I would have been, let's see, 1974. I would have been, when this movie came out, I had just turned 4 years old.
Yeah, I was in first grade.
So you were probably still in diapers then.
No, I was not still in diapers at 4 years old. No.
You have a lot of confidence in him, don't you?
And though our kids say that I'm getting older, I don't wear diapers now. Although that would really help on those epically long movies to go to the movie theater. I always thought that they were missing out on that at the movie theater now. Sort of like, they're always looking to make a niche market. You get one of those like 3.5 hour epic movies. You can just say, can I get the extra large popcorn, the 2 large sodas, and the Depends jumbo size? Thank you. And so as you go get your seat, you say, Daddy, be right back. I'm heading to the bathroom. And
The
you
Marvel size.
You slip on your jumbo Depends. You're in the movie. 2 hours in, you're like, oh, that cherry Coke hit bottom. And I'm like, but the movie's getting really good. It's like, oh, you know what? Oh, wait a minute. I don't have to leave.
And all of a sudden, Daddy has a satisfied look on his face and is enjoying the movie much more now.
And it's like, you see babies for the first 30 minutes after they, wet themselves. They're in this like warm bliss. They feel
Just
like
happy. And
they're just happy. Now, it's only for number 1. Okay. Movie theater goers, if we do this, it's not for number 2. Okay.
no,
it's
please.
not for number 2. Okay.
It's disturbing enough doing number 1.
So, could you imagine that though? Going to the movies like, wait, don't you have to go to the bathroom? Already did.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
With
What was
millennials
that
being
movie with Steve Martin? Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, where he pretends like they're scamming that family, and he's sitting there. He's got the patch on his eye, and he's got the cork on the end of his fork, and because they say, well, why does he have that? Because he poked his eye out. It's like stabbed himself, and all of a sudden he goes, might I go to the bathroom? He's like, and Michael Caine goes, sure. And all of a sudden he's like,
And his eyes cross.
he's just sitting there, and then he goes, and the lady's sitting next to him, and he's like, thank you. Like he just wet himself at the dining room table. Anyway, all right, so I digress. So we move.
really? I thought that was really a part of this minute.
I've always wanted to do that. Go to the movie. I don't know if I could bring myself to do it just yet.
Yeah, give it another 10, 15 years.
See, the problem with the podcast is people can't see me looking at you the way I'm looking at you.
The way you're looking at me?
I think your silence speaks volumes.
Very well, good. Anyway, okay, so moving right along. There are a couple of lines here that the Doctor and Inga exchange back and forth that are not part of the original script that was blessed by the studio, the script we continue to go back to. It's supposed to be as soon as at the very moment that Igor yells at the very beginning of this minute, on the nosy, having guessed the sedative, or sedative, Inga is supposed to say right after the creature falls asleep, the minute he falls unconscious, it's supposed to be Inga who says, Frederick, are you all right? So we don't have the sedative line, which I think is great that we added that for the film. I love
that is great.
Frustration of the, how could you possibly think I was trying to get you to guess sedative? But when he falls back in the chair and she comes over and says the line, are you all right? He says, yes, dear, can I have a moment? That was not in the script.
Huh.
It's supposed to go straight to Freddy saying, may I speak to you for a moment, but delivering the line to Igor directly. Like his very first thing, as soon as Inga says, Frederick, are you all right? He ignores her and goes to Igor, may I speak to you for a moment? And Igor, of course. And Freddy then supposedly says, which of course is not in the movie either. Now, he says it because he'll say it later, but he starts off this conversation. Now, I promise you I won't be angry. All I ask for is the truth. Is that fair? And Igor says, why, certainly. And then he'll ask the question, that brain you gave me, which of course isn't until the next minute. So what is going on here was all stuff they decided to change on the fly when they decided to put this scene together about showing one more attention moment between Inga and the Doctor. In fact, Susan, when you look at this, can you tell? I mean, she's going beyond lab assistant here. She has true worry and concern, but also something a little bit deeper, I think, for the Doctor.
Oh, yeah. She got hots for Doc.
Hots for Doc. But I mean, if you look at even the way her body language, she comes in, it's not just checking to see if he's okay. She's putting her cheek next to him, putting her cheek to cheek. They're talking it's very much like she's trying to almost seduce him after having just been strangled.
And his look, he is not even noticing it. No. At least, I mean, she's so close. The corner of her lips are touching the corner of his. And he's not even noticing it all.
And she's playing with his hair. I mean, it's definitely a very familiar moment for her. He is in another universe.
Yeah.
And I love, because he is still trying to regain his composure. And he's just staring off and could you just give me a moment?
Yeah.
Of course, darling. And then we get this conversation with Igor. Now, I don't know if it was Marty Feldman who came up with this, if it was Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks, if it was collaborative. This whole bit about grabbing the chair, grabbing the seat, sitting down, not in the script at all. They just start off having the conversation. We never have the Doc sitting down. We never have him inviting Igor to sit down. So, Walt, we've said up until this point 9 out of 10 things that they've left out of the script we thought were good. I think the thing that they've added to the script on the set was also a positive addition to the movie.
Oh, I think it's great. And I think this is one of it's a subtle bit, but I think it's one of the funniest bits of, take a seat, and he sits on the floor. And he's, and he's not looking at him with an angry look or a forlorn look or anything. It's just how he looks. He's just looking at the doc, waiting to hear what he has to say. And then, Gene Wilder turns to him and says, no, sit up here. And he has a genuine thank you. He says, oh, well, thank you. He really appreciates the fact that he gets to sit on kind of the equal level with the doctor.
Don't you see it almost as, when I watched this scene, I thought about back the times when my kids were young, and I just really, really wanted to kill them. And I wanted to get information, and I knew yelling at them was not going to work, so
Right.
I had to pretend to be calm, put them at ease, make them think absolutely nothing is wrong. Talking in that calm voice. No, sit down here. Let's talk.
And you promise you won't get angry.
I promise, as my fingers are crossed behind my back.
I've had that conversation recently with one of my kids where she said, "You're going to be mad." No, I'm not going to be mad. I just want to know what happened. I promise you.
You said you weren't going to be mad. I lied.
Well, I've had to change it because my kids know I lied.
They've learned.
You're gonna be bad. Yes, I will be mad, but I will stay calm and I won't punish you. So I've had to change it.
See, when I watch this scene, his focus, he's trying so hard to keep it together to the point of he sort of sits back in the chair, crosses a leg very sophisticatedly. He's not bringing his leg up. He's just doing this sort of knee over knee cross. And he slowly brings the hand up and says, may I speak to you for a moment? And
yeah, he's almost back to his professor. In fact, he's nearly sitting the exact same way he was right before he rammed the scalpel into his leg.
Yeah, or certainly after when he was trying to hide the scalpel.
Yeah, well.
What I love is how, for the astute member of the audience, or anybody who's ever had a kid, as you said, Susan, I sensed what was coming before, obviously, Igor does. Igor, I don't think, has any sense right now of what's coming to him, because he sees the doctor kind of relax, cross the leg, goes, can I, in the exact line is, may I speak to you for a moment? And Igor, of course. And then adds the line, please, sit down. And I do think it's a funny little visual moment when he says to sit down, and Igor just kind of, oh, okay, like right
just
here.
Collapses on the floor.
Just plop on the floor, Indian style.
Very literal.
Are we allowed to say that now? Crisscross applesauce.
Yeah, it's not Indian style anymore.
When he goes to sit down, he's sort of on the ground, a little bit behind Dr. Frankenstein. And Gene Wilder, I guess, is assuming that he would have pulled up the chair, which he doesn't do. So he pauses and looks and realizes, oh, you're down there behind me. Like, no, please. Up here.
And Igor's look is just one of like total joy and elation. I mean, he's so excited that he's going to be able to get to sit on the stool.
Do you see how much he's grinning when he's on the floor and he's invited to come
hilarious.
sit up on the bench? He thinks, oh my gosh, we're going to have a conversation with the doctor.
The greatest thing that's ever happened.
Master likes me.
Master, like we've said before, and Susan, I know you were absent for so many of the minutes heading into Transylvania. The more we watch Igor, the more we think he's channeling his inner dog. He's so instantly like squirrel. He doesn't move in straight lines. He's always going back and forth. He always seems to be entertaining himself. There's always something going on that he's happy with. And in this case, when he goes to sit on the floor, and it's like, could you imagine our dogs when you invite them to come up on the couch when they're not supposed to? The sheer excitement
It's
of
Christmas.
tail starts wagging. They hop up there like, what do I get? What do I get? They're like, you're going to get a spanking. Wait, what?
It's a trap.
Yeah, I've got
It's a
Admiral
trap.
Akbar. It's a trap. Yeah, the kids know that now, like you said. They've become well aware of the parenting techniques. But this is, to me, I love this. This is taking its time to build the next joke. It's one of those moments, again, where we sense, and there's no way you can't pick up on this. You know something is coming. You know he's not happy with Igor. But he needs Igor to be honest with him first. And he's going to have to hold it together to get to the truth.
Well, and again, we see him barely holding it together. The insanity is just below the veneer, but it's almost a functional insanity because
almost
almost because he knows what he needs to get. out of Igor. So it is I think that it's probably one of those scenes that as they were working it out on set, there were certain elements that they realized just worked better than what was in the script because, like you were saying earlier, the add-ins here are amazing and make the movie and make the scene so much better.
Now, I don't know where his cigarette went in this because he had it and now it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Did anybody notice where it went? He had it in his hand when the monster was falling, and then while his hand's blocked by the body of the monster and Frankenstein, and Inga's in the background moving the chair into place, I can't tell when Gene Wilder gets back up where the cigarette goes. So I'm going to talk about that, and I also want to talk about what's in Inga's hand. Because while we don't see what happens to the cigarette, when Inga comes around to him, and we talked about how she puts it cheek to cheek, almost like you said, Susan, corner of lip to corner of lip, puts the hand on his face, then tries to brush his hair. What's she got in her hand?
A tissue?
Is it a tissue or is it a cotton ball?
I thought she still had the syringe.
I think she has a tissue.
It's either gauze, maybe it's gauze. I can see where that. So,
well, I think she had the syringe wrapped in gauze earlier, and I'm wondering if she isn't putting it back.
But then she stabbed, because I guess what I'm trying to figure out is she never brought the monster's pants down, so what did she need the tissue or the wipe for to give him the injection?
I'm no doctor. I can't answer that question.
I don't think we have a sterile environment there anyway, so I'm not too worried
you mean all
about
the cobwebs,
that one.
dust?
Are you worried about giving the corpse an infection?
Yeah. He's already dead once.
We need to practice, a sterile environment in this hospital setting. Yeah, this looks exactly like a great operating.
Well, plus you have the open roof with the lightning and rain coming in.
All the elements are coming in here.
Yeah, this is not a sterile environment.
But she, for some reason, I don't know why she doesn't drop it, whatever it is. It doesn't look like the needle's in there. Just I couldn't tell if it was a gauze. That's what it looks like. It looks like the rolled up gauze, like you would use to take the alcohol and wipe the area down before you give somebody the shot. But I mean, she gave him a shot through the pants.
Maybe we just didn't see her take the cigarette away and wrap it up in something, throw in the trash.
Well, what's kind of funny is as Igor and the doctor are having a talk, Inga in the background is doing something at the table in the far back of the scene. For a minute, her back is totally to us. She's either ditching the gauze, ditching whatever, and then she immediately heads off camera to leave these two guys in the shot. And unfortunately, while that's all happening, this is kind of where the scene starts to come to an end.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to wait and see how this conversation is now going to play out. So, we already talked about it from a kid's perspective. Susan, you said that this is what you've had to do with kids to try to disarm them, to get them to tell the truth. And Walt, you said you just recently had that. Do you think this was a kind of a universal thing, parents of the 70s? And is this just a universal parent?
I think it's a universal parent.
So.
Yeah.
And Igor is childlike in that sense, so he's treating him like a child.
Well, so, I mean, he's more like a... I mean, he's definitely type, but
I do that with my dogs,
teenager.
too.
You do it with the dogs,
because,
don't you?
Come here, buddy. I'm not mad at you at all. Get over here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to be
I'm
mad.
not putting medicine on you.
Your dogs can tell by your attitude.
You're not going to get a bath,
Who's
I
the biggest
promise.
dummy in the room? Who's the biggest dummy? Oh, wagging your tail, dummy.
But, he
Well,
actually...
I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, gosh.
Stop wagging
I was
your
really
tail.
responsive. I was like,
on the table.
What do you want?
Down, boy.
Do you have a treat?
Down.
Normally, you're throwing me under the bus.
Do you have a lasagna?
You have lasagna. I'm suddenly thinking Garfield now.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, one of the interesting things here is in every training class I take on interviewing people as an investigator, he does exactly what we're told to do. Ask a question, shut your mouth, let the other person talk. Mm-hmm. And so he does a good job here of letting Igor walk his way right into the answer he needs.
Well, we're going to have to continue this into tomorrow because I love the fact that setting this up, we've got the tension. We know what's happened because we watched Igor. And what's funny is Igor himself knows what he did, but he has not yet caught on to what the line of questioning that's coming his way. And we have to wait for the next minute before we can actually even get there. So before we do that, Susan, anything that we didn't get to in this minute that you want to talk about or anything I forgot to mention?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it.
All right. Any
I'm
mom
sure we
advice for any
haven't
of the
covered
moms
it,
out
but
there?
I haven't noticed it.
especially if we got new moms, any advice? Would you advise that this is a good technique if you want to get to the bottom of something?
In the beginning, till they get smart, and you have to change it up a bit.
Until they get smart. What's funny, because like our 16-year-old still falls for this.
So, hey, no, she doesn't. She'll look at me. She goes, "Am I in trouble?"
Well, now we can tell. We can feel when like there's like it's like a dementor when you walk into the room and like there's no joy left. You're like, oh no. You can just tell. I can as a husband. I can tell. I know when I've messed up.
Oh,
I don't even have to see Susan's face. I walk into a room like, oh, I feel like
I'm cold and the joy is left me.
Just passing through, baby. Just passing through. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see.
Run before I suck the soul out of you.
Oh, I get to go home to this.
Yeah.
Walt, anything that I forgot to, or you forgot to bring up?
The only thing that I have not brought up yet is this is the first time, and probably the only time I've noticed that Terry Garr is wearing high heels in this scene. When she walks off set, you can see she's in high heels. That's a lot of activity to be involved in wearing high heels.
Well, and remember, before this all happened, they were all dressed to the nines for a formal dinner upstairs. There wasn't even, and I guess this is the custom back in the day, not in 1974, but wherever they are now, to have formal attire at dinner. I mean, I don't normally get into a tux before dinner, but they were all in formal wear for dinner.
You're lucky you're wearing clothes for dinner.
You're lucky. Well, and really, we keep talking about how this has moved back to 1931, and that would be something that would be emblematic of 1931 for family like this, for a family estate like this, would be that you would dress for dinner.
Well, we want to find out what this conversation is all about, but to do that, you're going to have to come back tomorrow, where we will get to minute number 58, where the doctor is going to continue his conversation about Igor and the brain that he sent him to go get back several minutes ago. For us, it's now several weeks ago. But it will end with the doctor asking about a 7.5-foot long, 54-inch something or other. In the meantime, Walt, where can people learn a little bit more about what we do when we're not recording another episode of The Wilder Ride?
Best place to find us is always going to be at thewilderride.com. From there, you can find all the other great places to touch base with us on the internet. Particularly, take a look at facebook.com/thewilderride and join us there for some great discussion. And if you love what you're hearing, please take a minute, go over to patreon.com/thewilderride. Take a couple minutes to look at the different ways you can help out the show and help defer some of our costs here, and that would be greatly appreciated.
And there's some pretty cool tiers. You might even get a shout out, or maybe even get a chance to win a guest spot, or a lot of stuff in between, but you got to go check it out.
Absolutely.
And I would also suggest, if you get a chance, head on over to iTunes. That is probably the biggest podcast server out there. And just give us a quick rating if you can. Give us that 5-star rating and a quick comment. We love to hear what you guys are thinking, what works, what doesn't. And that actually helps us with some of the algorithms and some of the metrics that work iTunes. And that may help us get found by other folks looking for either Gene Wilder, Mel Brooks, or Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, and we're not egomaniac. Well, I say that. We're not egomaniacs. We're not looking for people just to go out there and tell us how great we are. That really does help other people find our show and help our show move up in the charts.
Yeah, in fact, any of the podcasts that you listen to, take that time to help them out. All of us as podcasters, we really appreciate what you can do to help with our standings and our popularity within the different, because there's thousands and thousands of podcasts out there. Help people find us by leaving us a note.
Absolutely, a few other great ones out there, so do take the time to do that.
Until tomorrow, then, we come back for Hump Day in the Castle von Frankenstein.
the Castle von Igor.
Insert cricket noise.
A stoic look.
Insert cricket noise.